All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to back to school night for the Advanced Engineering Technology class, Spring 2022. My name's Tony Mauro, and I'm going to share my screen to walk through a few slides and tell you a little bit about the class. All right, so hopefully you can see this. Again, Advanced Engineering Technology. My name is Tony Mauro. Good to meet you all virtually. And so what we're going to do is talk a little bit about how the class is run. Um, in we were kind of going through this surge, and there's lots of questions about how we're working with classes, especially when they're hands-on related and working on projects. And so we're following all the guidelines as required. But the good news is that we are still here on campus. Obviously, we're doing this online, but hopefully this will be over soon, and we'll be able to um, fully engage on in these kind of meetings, and I can meet you all in person at some point. We are doing our work in this class in the classroom. We work with companies and on directed study projects, um, and we do all the work in the classroom here. I have computers on site that they work with, and if we need extra, software or access to the internet that isn't provided through our network here on campus, I have some machines that I can install software on if we need, or that we can access the individual sites that we might need to do. Um, Distribution of class materials is electronic, and assignments are submitted electronically. So everything is electronic here. We do it through the Google Classroom. If you are wanting to see that, then you can reach out to me, or I think you can add yourself. But if you're having some trouble with that, just reach out to me, and I'll give you my contact information towards the end, that you can contact me for getting access to the classroom. This class is pretty free form in terms of we don't have a specific curriculum that we follow. I have design cycle and process curriculum that I use in the beginning of the class for about the first 4 weeks or so. So we're about halfway through that. But it's really meant for students to get some experience working on a project that should take the whole semester. And so we want a more long-term project that is kind of real world, where we present a problem to the students and they have to go through the design process where they are collecting requirements on the project, trying to figure out how a design would flow from those requirements, doing the design itself, generating a test plan to be able to test to the requirements themselves. So does the design do what we say it's supposed to do? And then get check off at the end of that. So it's really a true engineering type process that they go through and they experience. And we do that with lots of cool projects, I think, with collaboration of outside companies and ones that I've worked on in the past that I have kids to help me work on as well. And so, yeah, so they also pursue a certificate of interest. Yeah, I didn't mention that. That's what they're actually working on now. They spend a lot of time on that. I require that they have a minimum number of hours that they spend towards working to learning something. The certificate itself, it's kind of in quotes, doesn't have to be formal. They don't have to go take a test because the district doesn't fund taking tests of any certificate that the kids want to do. And I want to get them studying or learning about something that is interesting to them. So this is an opportunity for them to spend time learning about a topic that might have interest them that just didn't have time to go study. It might be a coding language or some sort of tool, an engineering tool that they're interested in, or a platform or a development environment that they're interested in learning more about, like say AWS or some kind of cloud computing model. And so they have that opportunity to do that through this pursuit of the certificate. And so they just have to prove to me that they have put the hours in, and then they get the credit for that. The assessments aren't tests per se. I don't have exams, but I do have them show me completion items, basically milestones as they're working through their project. So they have to show me that they have a project plan that meets a set of requirements through a rubric, and that they track and complete their task items. So we use a task tracking tool, which is essentially like a Scrum type technology. If you know the Agile process, that's in an industry standard process of moving through a design, and Scrum is kind of this mechanism that you use to distribute tasks and to get team members to work on and complete and to track them. And so we use a tool called Trello to do that. And so it's a pretty, I think, a pretty relevant um, process that they go through when they are working on their projects. Um, this is my kind of my bio. I've been doing this for 9 years. My background's in electrical engineering, and I worked at Qualcomm since the early 90s in multimedia digital signal processing. I came in as a hardware designer back in the early 90s, and then kind of worked my way around doing different things in software systems engineering. And then I went and took the patent bar exam and became a patent agent and worked in the patent group for a couple years there. And so I had a really good opportunity to do many different things at Qualcomm over the years. I started teaching at CCA part-time in 2008, and was doing that ever since, and finally went to full-time in the 2015 timeframe. My wife and I live in Rancho Penasquitos. My two daughters are done with their college, and are in the real world, working in the Bay Area. So they're both up in the California Bay Area, and then we try to get up there as much as we can to visit. So whenever we have breaks, we're going. We're usually heading north to see them and to see our little grandbaby who is in the center here. And that is our first granddaughter that we have, and she is turning a year old in about a couple weeks. All right, most assignments are handled through the Google Classroom. And like I said, let me know if you want access to it, or if you haven't been able to add yourself. I will do that for you. We do journals where they have daily prompts, where their prompts are basically, what have you done today, right? What was your activity, and where you're going from here. So again, this is very, the students have to be very independent and motivated, and I push them to do that. So I'm lots of management from my side is to make sure that their progress on the project is going forward, and that they're all contributing to it. And so that's what I spend a lot of the time in the class doing, and then also mentoring them on different aspects of a project, as well as teaching them what the cycle part is. They have class time to work on assignments. I don't assign homework, and they should be able to get stuff done in class. But what I find is that because of human nature, tends to procrastinate. People tend to procrastinate, and what we find is that just like a lot of times in business, there are stressors right around the quarter mark and the semester mark, when they have to actually get some stuff done. So they'll be, you know, um, kind of pushing along, and then they may have a peak where they have to put in some extra hours in. And so usually they do it here, and so they may be here after school or during lunch and working on some stuff, or before school. And that usually happens in this class, because they do have stuff that they have to get done. It's not a cush class. They have to actually work. But they usually like what they're doing, because I try to match their skill sets and their interests on a project that it most is in line with both of those things. If you'd like to participate in the class as a guest speaker, or you have equipment or supplies you want to donate, I'm always open to have you in, or to accept your donations if you have stuff. Especially if you're working in a company and you have some culture in place that that wants to do outreach with students, smart kids for sure, that can do cool technical work. I don't do life science type stuff in here. It's all physical science, so it's all engineering and computer science type projects. But if you have something like that that you're interested in working with the students in my classes on, please reach out, because I'm always very interested in getting the kids experience in working on real world projects. So please do that if you are so inclined. We have a 10% scaling on grading. The project work is heavily weighted. They have to do presentations, and they have to get their project accepted through an acceptance test procedure. And so all of that basically folds in. I don't, like I mentioned earlier, I don't give quizzes or final exams. They're all built into these presentations. They'll have a final presentation at the quarter mark that goes into that category. But I don't have an exam where they're having to solve some sort of linear algebra problem or something like that. It's all based on their progress on the project. So hopefully it's a low stress and an enjoyable environment for them. But like I say, I work them hard while they're here, and usually they come out with some good experience. So hopefully they'll enjoy the class. If they miss the work, they should just come see me and we'll get it resolved. I'm pretty open to that. And then I try to keep my grades updated as quick as possible on Aries. This is a set of the examples of the projects that we are doing in the class. So you can read through them. There's basically all of these here represent a project that anywhere from 2 to 5, I think, is the largest team size that I have on them with the class that we have. So just to kind of go through them really quickly, CUDA research. This is using an NVIDIA accelerator board to implement machine learning classification algorithms. So they're learning the CUDA development environment and then implementing some of these algorithms. I have some headbands that collect EEG signals that can record your brain activity. And so what we're doing is some classification of the raw EEG signals for things like what relaxation state are you in, what happens when you're stressed, when you're say for example working a hard math problem, what happens when you're listening to music that you like and that you dislike. And so we're actually experimenting a lot with these headbands. This is in collaboration with a company that is offering these headbands as part of like a curriculum push that they're doing. And so I'm using this class to help kind of pilot their hardware, and we're seeing what we can get out of it by implementing machine learning on it. So the software type people who have studied this can get a lot of cool experience on that. The hardware people I have in class that have taken my digital electronics class, I have them doing more advanced design work. So CPU design is one of them. I have a group that I started doing some blockchain research with last semester. And so we actually stood up we forked or basically took a snapshot of the Ethereum. If you're familiar with the crypto world, we took a snapshot of the Ethereum code base, and we implemented our own, essentially our own blockchain in the classroom, where we created our first block, right? They call it the Genesis block. And then we generate in Ethereum, we generate smart contracts, and then we can add them to the block after we mine them. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we mine these blocks, and just getting up to speed on how this thing really works. So it's really kind of an interesting project, learning about just the kind of the specifics of blockchain without actually getting into the guts of it and trying to, we don't trade Bitcoin or anything like that, but we're learning the technology, which is kind of interesting. This IoT asset tracking project is one in collaboration with an external company called DRS Daylight Solutions. And so this is actually something where it is meant to be able to track test equipment in their facility, where we tag the equipment with an RFID, and then we have a reader that if they pass the equipment through, say, a doorway out of a lab, it detects it and then processes the ID and then sends it to a database. And so they have that tracking mechanism. So we're doing that with an external company. The robotic arm and this quadruped, these are both robotics type, advanced robotics type projects where I'm teaching the kids kinematics and basically how to implement automation. So that the intention is to understand, well, how could we implement something that might be a manufacturing type application to robotics instead of just driving robots around. The quadruped, though, is an actual robot that is quad, and it's like a little dog, and it has joints for its shoulders and its knees, essentially. And we got it fabricated. We built it, designed it, built it, and we assembled it last semester. And we're going to take it and I want to miniaturize it for one, and then we're going to start working on software to actually try to make it walk. And then this last one here is a collaboration with UCSD, where we're working with the electrical engineering department to do some projects on waveform generation, which is more on the signal processing side. So lots of really cool projects, kind of advanced, but the kids rise to the occasions and they actually make lots of good progress on this. These are the two pathways. On the right-hand side is the engineering pathway. So your son or daughter is in the advanced class. That's the capstone class in the pathway. And so that's what we're doing, these advanced type projects. On the left-hand side is our computer technology pathway, like basically our coding pathway. And I support both of these. I teach the computer science A class, and next year I'll be teaching a machine learning class that I developed based on an enrichment curriculum that I put together for a company that I started just to provide more advanced curriculum to students who finish these pathways, because we find that they finish them and then they're like, okay, well, now what do we do? What more do you have for us? And so then they can come to me, and I have some cool things to share with them in that regard. All right, and I think that was it. So if you have any questions, please get in touch with me. There's my email. Best to get me there. Here's my number with my extension. I'm much better at checking my email than I am checking my phone messages. So if you want to talk, shoot me an email and say, give me your cell phone, and I'll give you my cell phone. You can call me and we can chat. If you want to come visit, please feel free. And if you just want to communicate via email, that would be best. But if you call me, I will eventually get the message. All right. Well, thanks everybody for your patience and for listening in, and have a good rest of your evening.